What if your task list wasn't just a list, but a powerful visual system that tells you exactly what to focus on each day? Well, that's the magic of this tabular task list. Instead of endless notes and scattered reminders, you get a clear, at-a-glance view of what needs to be done, when to do it, and what is already finished. So in this video, I'll show you how to set up this simple and probably game-changing system in Apple Notes so you can stay organized without the overwhelm. So let's have a look at what this tabular task list could look like and what it can do for you. I've created an example here and I've divided this note into weeks. Now you can have the entire year divided in weeks. In this case, let's have a look at this first week of March from the 3rd to the 9th. If I open this thing and I expand the section, you can see that I've got all my tasks listed here and a series of columns representing time and status of those tasks. So let's review everything one by one. The first row is my header, numbers 1 to 7 representing the days of the week. In my case, Monday would be day 1 and Sunday would be day 7. I know that some people, especially in the States, would like to start on a Sunday as number 1 and then end on a Saturday. Whatever works for you. And then the first row is my first task, maybe the first task that I recorded. And with this system, you can record your tasks in random order because the planning and the sequencing is done by using the columns. So let's say that this marketing or meeting preparation was planned and accomplished on the second day of the week, Tuesday in my case. And then the following thing, calling a client at 10 a.m., was completed on a Wednesday, and so on. And you can see that I've used several symbols representing different statuses of these tasks. For example, approving reports is something that I've marked for Thursday as something that I need to chase with this symbol. Again, on Thursday, I've got an important thing, which is to review the budget, and also another important family do, which is my family cinema night. I also have some tasks which are now planned, for example, for Thursday, this meditation. And they could be several things, you know, they could be maybe a daily habit or something that you do several times a week. I'm going to help the kids with homework on a Saturday and so on. I also have one symbol here for something that was planned for that day and then I decided to move to a different week. So it's likely that I will find this staff one-to-one check-ins probably in one of the next weeks. And the final symbol you see here is this, the blue diamond that I use for something which is in progress. So looking at this week, probably cleaning up the garage was planned for the Monday. So I marked it as in progress and it was in progress on Tuesday as well and then finally completed on a Wednesday. So as you can see, at a glance, you see everything you have to do during your week, the day you're supposed to do these things, and then a series of symbols that represent the actual status of those things. Something maybe you've missed, some things you've moved to a different week, or maybe deferred completely, or maybe even moved them to your not-to-do list. And many other things you've completed. Once this week is over, you can then move to the following week and replicate exactly the same structure, having rows for things you have to do, columns for your statuses, and so on. I would say that probably during a normal week, you would move something to, a different week in the year, or maybe start writing things down depending on your appointments, depending on your tasks, on things you have to do, maybe family commitments or work commitments, whatever. In theory, with this system, you could have your entire year planned on a single page. And because in Apple Notes you can collapse sections, you can work off this section today, this week, and then when the week is over, you can close it and move to next week. And without having to move to different systems, different places, and so on. So I hope this basic explanation is enough. Now we're going to move into a series of suggestions which could actually improve your experience with this tabular task list. And I've created a list of bonus tips, which is here. So let's review them one by one, just side by side with the actual example. So the first suggestion is keep your descriptions short. And the main reason is that if you keep your description short, when you look at this list on your mobile, everything will fit a single line without breaking, without ruining the layout. Because the layout is very neat and it's based on the fact that everything will be sorted in columns and aligned that way. So my suggestion would be use one line only for your task description. Use abbreviated text if needed. So basically the message is make sure that whatever you put in there can fit a single line. And based on a standard setup on your phone, which is the smallest device you have, this probably equates to around 20 characters used to describe a task. If that doesn't work, a final option you have is to reduce the text size that you use in Apple Notes. And to do so, you basically slide down from the top right, and when you see the character, the font size slider, you tap on it until it becomes bigger. You choose to only affect Apple Notes, that would be my recommendation, and then you move the size up or down to make sure everything fits your screen and you're still able to read it. In my case, I keep it to the minimum. You normally start here at 100%, which is the default. So you can decrease and decrease and decrease again the size to make sure that everything fits into a single line and you can still use it regularly and normally. Let's continue. The second suggestion is to link to specific notes if you need more space. Now, again, if this space, it's not enough for you to jot down your tasks, or maybe if you need to write down additional information about a specific task, what you can do is, of course, to use internal links. So, for example, let's say that this client call at 10 a.m. is an important one. Maybe I want to jot down the phone number I need to call, or some important information around that call. Instead of writing these things here, which would break the layout of the page, I can simply use a link. So I can create a note that refers to that client, and then I can link to that note by using the standard shortcut in Apple Notes, which is using the double greater than sign. So you do it like this, 2 greater than signs, and then you go to maybe client X contract. Maybe this is the page that I'm looking for. I click, and now I've created my link. And if I remove the previous note, now this thing is short enough to fit in a single line, and if I click on it, I can go to a page where I can write as much as I want, every note that I want, that would be useful during the call, but without cluttering the interface. Now let's move to the third suggestion, which is around rearranging lines. There is a shortcut on Mac, which I'm going to demonstrate, and also a little hack on your iPhones. This is useful to see a weekly progress cascade, for example. Once you've recorded your task in any random order and you've placed them in a sequence, so everything you need to do on Monday has been recorded, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on, it may be useful to you to move things around so that you see the actual cascading of your completion marks, just for visual interest. There is a shortcut on Mac to move your lines, and it's very, very simple. So you pick a line that you want to move up, like, for example, this line. You click on anywhere on that line, and then you press the shortcut, Control, Command, arrow up. Every time you press, you see that this thing is moving up, and I can place it here so that what I've completed on a Monday stays at the top, and then I can follow with things that I've completed on Tuesday, and so on. Now, it's not possible to achieve the same thing on your iPhone natively because there is no function to move lines up or down. However, you can use this little hack that I've discovered. So basically, you highlight and select all your rows, convert them to checklist. Then maybe I want to move this line here, so I can tap and hold on the checklist symbol, move it to wherever I want, maybe here, and leave. Now this has been moved, or actually copied there, so I can triple tap to highlight the original line, press delete twice to delete it, and then I can again highlight the entire list and press the symbol to convert them back from checklist items to standard list, which is this. And now I've got my original list sorted the way I want. It's a bit fiddly, but still, it's a solution, which works if you're on the go and you cannot access your Mac to quickly change the order of your tasks. So let's move on to the next suggestion, which is around choosing symbols. Now, I've used a few here, as you've seen, that sort of resonate with me and with my workflow. But my suggestion would be to define statuses that apply to your workflow. You may have more or less than the ones that I've used here. And also choose symbols that really resonate with you, so that you see immediately the value and the meaning of those symbols when you look at your list. The ideal scenario is that as soon as you look at a glance at your list, you get exactly what you need to do and when. Maybe it's a good idea to create a legend to remember your symbols, especially at the beginning when you are new to this method and maybe you haven't even used all of them for a while. I've created a legend for me, for example, which is this one. These are all the symbols that I've used on my lists. This one for a task which is planned on a given day. This green check mark for something which is completed. A red circle for something that I'm waiting from someone else. The red X for something was cancelled, or maybe that I failed to complete. This arrow for something that has been moved either to one of the next weeks, or maybe deferred forever, maybe even moved to my not-to-do list. And then I've got a couple of diamonds. The blue one indicating something which is in progress, and the orange one indicating something that I need to chase in order to complete. Maybe I'm waiting for someone to give me something, or I'm waiting for the end of a process to be able to continue. And then the final one, those exclamation marks that indicate that something is important. Again, you can use more, you can use less, just make sure that they apply to your workflow. And as I'm saying here, don't use too many. Try to start small, maybe just 2 or 3 symbols would do, and then add if and when necessary. The next suggestion is to speed up your workflow on your Macs, or maybe even on your iPad if you're using an external keyboard, by creating keyboard shortcuts. Now, as you can see here, you can use these text replacements and keyboard shortcuts to type statuses for you instead of opening the emoji picker, for example, to create your header, so those numbers 1 to 7, there are 7 emojis, or maybe even to create an empty week, so that sequence of 7 white squares, which are placeholders for that column. So creating a text replacement is really easy. I've demonstrated this thing several times on this channel, but basically you open your settings, your keyboard, you click on text replacements, and then you click the plus symbol to create a new one. And at this point, you can choose any combination of letters and maybe even numbers that you want replaced with an emoji or a series of emojis. So for example, I could use TT1, as in Tabular Tasks number 1, when I want to insert a completed checkmark. And we can immediately test whether this is working by selecting an item that we want to convert into a green checkmark. For example, review budget, it was important and I've now done it. So I've selected that symbol, and if I type TT1 space, this is now converted to a green checkmark. You can repeat exactly the same process with any other symbol that you use, maybe even with an entire line like this header here. So you can create your own keyboard combination to create that little header, which consists of 7 icons using text replacements. Suggestion 6 is to vertically highlight completed days. Let me show you what I mean. So in this case, for example, in this example, as you can see, I've highlighted the first 3 days of the week because these are days that I've already completed. As you can see, many of the things I've completed, some I've moved, and so on. So now, today is Thursday, my 4th day of the week. And highlighting this is really easy when you work on your Mac, and unfortunately it's not possible on mobile devices, because there is a way of selecting text while you're pressing the Option key that allows you to select text vertically. You press down the Option key, your cursor turns into a little cross, and then you can simply click with your mouse and drag down and select an entire column. And at that point, it's really easy to highlight the column, maybe in red or pink, whatever color you want. In this case, let me highlight it in orange. I'm highlighting a Saturday, basically, so it's a weekend. Suggestion 7 is to perform a sort of a sprint review or week review at the end of each week before you plan the next. So let me show you. In this example, I've added a weekly review down here in which I've celebrated a victory. So in this case, that call with a client that was scheduled for Wednesday was very successful and we secured an important contract. Happy days. But also the meeting, the staff one-to-one check-in that I had to postpone on Wednesday, I've got a note for that that says that I allocated too little time for the one-to-ones. So I had to postpone them, and next time, note to self, set aside at least a couple of hours. Important information that will help me plan the following weeks. Next suggestion is to add weekly highlights to your headers. Now, why would you want to do this? Have a look at this. Once you've got all your month or maybe even your year planned and you've collapsed your sections, you don't really know what happened during those weeks. So a good idea is to basically call out important things that happened during that week by writing directly in the header. And then if you want to know what this big contract was, you can simply click on here, look at the weekly review or any notes that you have to discover what that was about. So this is it for today. I hope you found this tabular task list useful. If you decide to try it or maybe even to make modifications, let me know in the comments below. For now, thanks a lot for watching and see you soon.